Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am right here. Sorry about that. Thank you all for coming out tonight. It is so great to see each and every one of your shining faces on this beautiful fall day. Apparently, we're going to get snow this weekend, so thank you for joining the inside with me as we get ready for snow. But my name is Andrew Rocha. I'm the Community Partnership Manager here within Red Deer ATB. And we're so excited that all of you came out today to hear from Nicola and to hear more about real estate and what's going on. Before I jump into it, I want to go through a few housekeeping things. But before I go to housekeeping things, I want to congratulate Bryce, because Bryce this week just hit 34 doors, which is a pretty crazy accomplishment. So congratulations, Bryce. I'm sure that tons of people have questions for you about that afterwards. But speaking about questions afterwards, if you have questions, if there's ever anything that myself, Bryce, one of our guests are sharing about that don't add up, please come and ask us questions. We want to debunk whatever myths might be out there, any misinformation, and oftentimes someone could say something from the mic and you hear one thing, you're like, there's some question marks on that. Please come and ask, because we want to remove any of those question marks. These events are meant to gain value for you. It's not meant for us. We want to just give as much information away as possible so that way you can go out and build your portfolio. You can pursue whatever business ventures, whatever it might look like that inspires you. So wanted to share that. Then the other thing, if you all could pull out your phone at some point tonight and just Google ATB Red Deer and leave a Google review. I'm not going to prompt you of a 1-star, 5-star. I think you know what type of stars I would like, but yes. But we'd love to get some reviews, regardless of it, about this event, about ATB as a whole. Whatever you've been impacted through ATB, we'd love to see those reviews, because it also helps us to broaden the reach for events like these. With all that said, I want to introduce Nicola. Nicola has been with ATB for how many years has it been? 14 years. So it comes with a wealth of knowledge, and I say that because she works for ATB Wealth, but she also has a ton of knowledge. We did an event about a month or so ago where I broke down my own real estate portfolio and how I got there. And Nicola, right after, she's like, okay, Andrew, but what's your end strategy? And I think a lot of real estate investors are probably in a similar boat, where you start accumulating, you start building up, you're like, I want that cash flow, but what do I do when it comes to the end in mind? Like, does this go to my children? If I don't have children, does it go to my dog? Like, what do I do with this, or what's my next strategy? And so Nicola actually sat me down in her office and went through a few different simulations of what it could look like. It's like, Nicola, you need to present on this. We need to actually share this out to the masses. So without further ado, Nicola, I'd love for you to take it away.
All right, I'll do my best. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know how to work the mic or this little clicky thing, but I'm going to do my best. This little arrow?
That little arrow.
Okay.
That's all that you need.
Am I doing this thing right? So my name is Nicola Weimer. I'm a senior financial advisor at ATB Wealth. I hold my certified planning designation, CFP. It is one of those designations that takes a long time to get, and a lot of study and a lot of it's a competency-based exam, so there's a lot of work that goes into it, and I'm proud to say that I've had it for a few years now, since 2020, and with that, gives me a little bit of that insight on looking at things differently from a different perspective. So for me, I live here in Red Deer. Just a little bit about me. I'm really passionate about investing in financial planning. Obviously, that's my role. So it is something that I get quite excited about. So if you see me getting a little excited, just tell me to drop it down a little bit, because I'm cool with that too. So my husband and I live here in Red Deer with our daughter, Caitlin, and she's 15 now. So there is some things that are going on in the back of my head, trying to help get her set up for her financial future as well. It's going to be super tough for that generation. I just, I feel fortunate to be a Gen Xer. Anybody else here Gen X? No, still too old. Yeah, thank you. I got two. We had, I think, the best time because we were able to get into decently priced homes with decently priced mortgage rates. When my parents were paying 80, 20%. My first mortgage was 7.6 in 2000, and I felt pretty fortunate to get in at that rate. I know rates have gone down, but house prices have gone up a lot. So we have a place out in Vancouver Island in Comox that we rent. That's my goal, is to get back there. We'll see if that's still my husband's in another 10 or 15 years or so. But and we just recently purchased another property in Sylvan Lake. So I have 2 rentals, really far behind Bryce, but that's where my comfort level is. So I know a little bit about rental markets. I want to talk a little bit about the importance of a team of experts. So I don't pretend to know everything. I certainly don't know everything. And there's a lot of really specific information that each and every single one of you will have a different scenario and different advice given based on your personal plans. So I have a team of experts. A real estate advisor is number 1 because they need to help you find that property that is going to fit with your goals. Mortgage representatives. Nikiska, where are you? There you, Niska, sorry, I did it. Niska is one of our ATB mortgage representatives, so if you've got any questions around mortgages, she's here to answer them tonight. Donna Rand, an insurance advisor, and I'll tell you a little bit why that's super important later. And my good friend, Lee Sands, she's a lawyer, and I use her for estate planning, but she can do everything. She's brilliant. So I'm super lucky to have these ladies in my corner. I also believe that accountants are really, really, really important when it comes to this. And if anyone's an accountant in the room and wants to be my friend, right on. So important, especially in the financial planning space as well, because we don't see everything all the time. And honestly, I feel like every single year you guys have to take a new degree just to keep on top of what CRA changes. So kudos to you to do that job. And I can't stress enough the importance of your team of experts, because none of us can do it alone. I ran 3 scenarios for us, and I had a lot of fun making these guys up. Not necessarily the names, but the scenarios behind the names. So Gomez and Morticia, I don't know, it's October. And these are just your kind of, regular plain Jane clients. They work good jobs, they make good incomes, they save, and they're ready for retirement. So for their scenario, I ran a few assumptions in the planning. I figured inflation 2.1%. That includes the housing market that I put in here into these scenarios, even though we're not necessarily seeing the 2.1% on an average in central Alberta, and we may not see it quite like that for the next 10 or so years. We might see it spike up a little bit more based on what I've been hearing, but I always like to underplan and then over-deliver, so it's nice to at least have a number to use, because as you know, we all went through 2014. If you were living in Alberta, we know how hard that can crash just as quick as it goes up too. So 2.1 over the long term is kind of the number that FP Canada has given us to use for inflating our house prices as well. I used about a 5.2% annual rate of return on investments. That's a fairly low rate, but it's a good steady rate that we can pretty much be quite comfortable saying that's achievable long term. They both qualify for near maximum CPPs, OAS benefits. We assume their healthcare costs are going to go up over time as they age. And they wanted a new vehicle every 10 years in retirement. Their housing, their personal house, and these ones don't have a rental, will be paid off before retirement. And we're assuming the taxes are the most tax-efficient withdrawal strategy. So what does their lifetime gross cash flow projection look like? The bar chart on this side here, that's the expenses, and the income is the other piece there. And I know this is really tiny to see, but I think the main takeaway from this chart is just that almost steady with a slight increase in spending that is what we can take away from there versus the actual numbers behind it. If anyone is interested in the actual numbers behind it, you let me know and we'll go through it. But that starts now. They retire at this dot here, and that's why the drop in income. And then they're just living off their savings. Those are the 10-year vehicle purchases because we had to fund those, and this is death. We all have to see that at some point. The retirement paycheck, so this is at retirement, they are going to have their pension. So this scenario, we had Gomez working with an LAPP pension. CPP, OAS, your RSPs and your minimums for withdrawal, TFSA and other income. Typically other income in these projections are tax refund. And you can see there's not many of those. It's like right over here. And then it just starts climbing. So you can, it's really hard to see the bar chart. So does anybody have any questions around the bar chart before I move forward? No? Awesome, because that's great. It's really, again, just to really show that increase in income over the years to match inflation. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, for me anyways, the multi-year estate report. So if Gomez and Morticia passed away this year, their entire estate would be worth about $1.1 million. Not too bad, but man, they saved a lot of time just to have most of that go back to the government. And you can see the taxes for Gomez and Morticia for their RSPs are here. There's some probate fees and a little bit of money back from the government to bury you, and that's about it. So, yeah, $1.1 million. If they live, take in an $8,000 income per month after tax till 2058, their estate's going to be worth about $1.7 million. So there is a legacy to be left there with no property. The next couple I have, they've got a kid, so I didn't name him. Oh, I did, Nathan. He's 11 now. So they've got our ESPs, RSPs, TFSAs, non-registered savings. They're both paying into CPP. They will get OAS. And they've got 3 rental properties. So and the other factors I tried to keep similar as Gomez and Morticia, and tried to keep those assumptions throughout the scenarios. So they are younger, first of all, and so they do have a little bit longer of a timeline. They're dying in 2080. It just seems weird to me, but some people will live that long in this room, I'm sure. This guy here. So again, you can kind of see their working years, and then there's a dip here where they're retired, but they still don't have their mortgages completely paid off from the rental properties. And then you see it pop back up again, and that's when their mortgages start to get to be fully funded, and they're no longer in a liability space. They're just living off their incomes. This rental income is this little green here. So you can kind of see where how much that attributes to their retirement income. Again, I put them at the $8,000 per month with the 2 vehicles or 3 for these guys because they're younger. So, and utilize their other savings, TFSAs, non-registered accounts, any income that they are over in their cash flow from their rentals after their mortgage is paid off. Usually will go to fund their TFSAs to the max and then flip over to non-registered investments afterwards just for tax efficiency. And so that's why I've got fully funded TFSAs in this scenario where they can pull that money out for their vehicles or whatever space they don't want to pay any tax. So again, the fun screen is their end dollars. I can't read that because I had to make it too small. So I wrote it down, $8.1 million with the properties involved. But the taxes are where the issue comes in. So their their estate prior to taxes is over $9 million. So they're paying a lot of money in taxes at death. They do still have some RSP money left, which some of that will go to the government. And then the property disposition. So the selling of the properties will affect that as well. Then my friends, Justin and Haley, these guys here, I decided they could have a little bit of freedom around their employment. So he's a freelance writer, and she is a part-time job. I don't know what she does. She makes about $40,000 to $50,000 a year. He's bringing in around 70. So he's pushing into CPP, but she's not maxing out. So that's important because you'll see on the next screen that that there's not a lot of CPP to help fund it. But they've got 10 rentals at retirement. So currently they have eight doors, and 2 of them are up and downs. And they're looking to add a Sylvan Lake Airbnb and a Mexico property, because why not? Mexico's awesome. I think I've never been, but I think it would be awesome. And so, so that was really fun modeling their cash flow out. And this is their scenario goes in a nice line as well, where it's seeing that upward projection as well, which is fantastic. But their expenses are pretty high in the beginning part of their life, and they're heavily leveraged because I used equity and a line of credit to fund all of the purchases on the properties, which I feel is fairly common. It was my plan for buying my last one. So, and I think it's a fairly common thing that you guys see. If that's not right and that's an assumption, you just let me know and we can always play around and do other things. But you can see how the gross cash flow is basically meeting the needs. But in retirement, they way over surpass the $8,000 monthly income because, again, over the years that they have from their 29, and they already have 6 doors or 8 doors to their retirement, they're actually paying down a lot of that debt over their living, like their younger years, right? But it does take 25 years. Sometimes 30, depending on if you got one of those mortgages. What's interesting here is that you're making so much rental income, you're not getting any OAS. So you're out of the OAS side of it, which OAS, if you don't know, is an income-tested benefit that the government pays you after age 65. So it's not necessary in somebody that is generating over, at this stage, I think it's over $94,000 a year today. It does go up with inflation. So, but if you're bringing in that kind of income, and this is hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, because again, they don't have any of the mortgage to sit with. So their net estate at end of life is $34 million. Sorry, not thou, million. There is a lot of tax, $14.5 million of taxes at the end of it, which eats into your legacy that you're leaving. And but that's it. That's what it looks like, right? So that's one of the things that I really wanted to drive home when we're thinking about financial planning and holistic planning. I want to make sure that all of those aspects are covered. And so for me, one of the most important things right now at my stage of life is my wealth protection for my daughter, for my husband. If something were to happen to either of us, I wouldn't want her to be sacrificing her life or her lifestyle, I guess I should say. So wealth protection is one of the key things. If you haven't thought about it, you should. And that's where my friend Donna comes in. She's an insurance agent. So critical illness, not as important, but still important. She'll not. Disability, extremely important, especially if you manage your rentals yourself. If you're not able to do it, you're going to have to pay somebody for it. So you want to be able to have that cost, especially if you're like my Justin and Haley, heavily leveraged at the beginning portion of their life. You want to protect that because otherwise you could lose it all. And that's one of my biggest fears, is seeing everything that I've worked for and sacrificed for over the years to just go to nothing, to go to medical bills or, taxes. I hate that word. So the critical illness and disability helps you cover financial commitments if you've experienced a decrease or a loss of income from critical illness or disability. So there are parameters around each of those pieces, which I know Donna, or if you have an insurance agent that you're already working with, can help you through. Term insurance is a really great opportunity to cover off short-term spaces. So, for example, with the property that we just purchased, I do plan to get insurance from her, and it will be to cover off the mortgage because I'm not paying the mortgage insurance. Sorry, sweetie, but that's too high. But life insurance is much better, in my opinion, because you don't just have to, you don't just get the. Yeah, it doesn't just pay out the balance of your mortgage, it pays out your policy. So you can use that money however you see fit, but it will protect you. So term insurance is usually a little bit more cost effective, and it covers a certain timeline for you. So a mortgage, it works really well for 25 years, 10 years, whatever it is that you choose to see that risk. And then permanent life insurance or whole life insurance, these are going to be your tax-free payout when you die, to cover capital gains expenses. So this is where when we say, oh my God, $14 million, if you have an insurance policy to offset that, you won't have to, your beneficiaries won't lose a portion, 12, I think it ended up being around 12% of the estate to taxes and stuff. Do you have a question? No? Oh, darn. Anybody have any questions? No? Yes?
So my question is, those taxes are really high. Like, where are they coming from?
The stats on the return?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's inflation. A lot of it's inflation and paying. Like it's incredible how much they're expecting housing to go. So the housing market that I used was only the 2.1%, but you are looking at a long period of time, right? Oh, the taxes, you're saying. No, they're not probate taxes. The probate taxes are only $525. The legal fees on the other side could be higher if you get a lawyer to do the probate for you.
Alberta does not have a probate tax. Alberta is one of the jurisdictions in Canada that does not. We have a probate filing fee, and so that is that $525 that Nicola is reflecting. And any estate over $150,000 in value is going to be paying that $525. You max out at that $150,000 in value here in Alberta. Provinces like Ontario and Saskatchewan, it's a percentage of the value of the estate. So when we're looking at estates in those jurisdictions, you plan them a little bit differently. I used to practice in Ontario, and there was roughly 1.5% value of the estate. So there were occasions where we were giving very large checks to the government for that probate fee. So Alberta is nice in that respect that $525 is your max. If you're over $150,000 when you die, which hopefully we all are, it's $525, it's nothing. Lawyers' fees are a different story, but that's always negotiable.
So the taxes is, if your estate is like 4 million, so the
Capital
tax-
gains.
Capital gains.
Capital gains,
on all
yeah.
those properties.
Okay, so the capital gains is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the capital gains are, in this scenario, are high because you've held it for such a long time, right? You're looking at, what, close to 50 years or more.
So my question would be, could we not, like, put this in a bubble into, like, an corporation and going to our children?
Man, you're a slide ahead of me, dude. Yeah. It's okay. No, it's a great question, and it's a great option if it fits and that's where I would bring in my accountant friends. That's where I bring in my accountant friends. You have people. Well, we bring in those people when it comes to that incorporation, because yes, you're right. If you have a lot of doors, somebody over there has a lot of doors, you might want to think about incorporating the business, and that will help with the wealth transfer to other. Yeah,
And it doesn't avoid the taxes forever.
no.
Taxes do happen eventually,
Sure.
but it can sort of get you through the first transfer on a more effective basis, and then give your corporation an option to pay those taxes gradually as opposed to one giant lump sum. Because at any time you can declare a new value for your assets, right? And pay those taxes. I have some clients who hate owing tax, and they're like, let me bring it up to value, so that way CRA has it. I know it's very strange. We're all shocked when they want to give money there, but so the corporation at any time can say, I want to realize this gain now, and do that gradually, as opposed to doing one giant lump sum, because at any time when the corporation wants to dispose of that property, which at some point they're going to want to sell an asset,
Sure.
you're going to hit those taxes when you dispose of it.
Yeah.
Transfer of shares, different tax planning techniques, because sometimes corporations, you can actually end up with triple taxation if you're not planned correctly. And that's where your accountants who are specialized in that, sometimes we do pipeline transactions. That's usually what happens after death, and there's different planning before death for corporate shares, because you don't want triple taxation. That is gross. And so once you get to a larger value in your corporations, that's where you're really looking at a tax expert for that. I am not a tax expert. I know enough to flag tax experts, and I know some,
Yeah.
but I'm not the person who's physically doing that. And like, because it's a lot to keep up on, as Nicholas said, the taxes change so often that I know enough to go, let's stop here. I don't want to get you into a mess, because taxes happen eventually regardless.
Yeah.
So,
And I often say the same thing. Let's stop here because this is out of my lane. We talk about our lanes a lot, and
but corporate
each
shares can be transferred for a nominal value. So your estate owns the shares, your estate transfers those shares. The shares have a value based on book value, not necessarily based on asset value, and that's how you get around that large disposition when you die, because the corporation still owns it. You've only disposed of those shares that you've given a specific value to. So that's how you avoid that giant taxation death potentially. But then you still have all these assets in the corporation. You have to either, maybe your beneficiaries don't want to own shares equally. Maybe you've got 3 kids that don't all want to own the shares. You've got to find a way to get that money out of the corporation. That's where tax planning really comes in.
that's the next slide, dude.
I'm
Just teasing.
I wanted to just say too, the corporation can actually own the insurance policy.
They
too.
can, yes.
And so if you're planning for this tax bill, because it has to be paid eventually, you can also have, and we know things grow with inflation, with time, values go up, the more doors you have, the more, anyways, so you can have a participating policy that grows with dividends. And so you can start where it's even like a joint last to die if there's 2 of you. So when you're both passed away, then it takes care of the tax bill for your estate.
Yeah.
It can also be a great way to fund a corporation to
Yes.
buy other people out.
100%.
And
Yes.
so if
A
each
key
kid's
person,
entitled to
yeah.
3 shares of the corporation, and the corporation only has hard assets, no cash, insurance funds the corporation to buy out the children who don't want to be part of that
Yeah,
partnership.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, this is why we need experts.
Said like 5 of those words.
Right? I know. And this again goes back to my 3rd slide or 4th slide or whatever it is, why it's important to have the experts on your team. Because we can't know everything about everything, and everything changes so frequently that, we just need a great team with us. And if you don't have one, let us know, because I got a good team. I got a good group with me. A couple. Did we finish? I think we finished with the wealth protection. Is there anything that you thought I could add to that, Donna?
No, I just added what I was
Yeah.
thinking about.
Yeah, I was thinking about, I was going to put the participation, into there too, but then I was chatting with another
Tax bills
planner.
grow, and they do
Yeah.
have to be paid, so it's just a way to fund that
Yeah,
bill.
exactly. So,
Insurance is
insurance,
Life
yes.
insurance.
Yeah, life insurance, all kinds. So wealth transfer consideration. So this comes back to the initial question that I had asked Andrew. What's the long-term plan here? What are you buying all these properties for? What's it going to do for you? And the first answer is usually, well, it gives me cash flow. That's fantastic. And I love it. And you're borrowing money to use that to leverage, right? But at some point, you're not going to be here to have that cash flow. So where does that go? Does that go to your family? Is it something, are you purchasing a property to help a child in the future, or 3, or as many as you have, really? So with that, the wealth transfer considerations, so you can just let your family inherit the money, wham, you get taxed. Because it'll be a deemed disposition. Somebody's got to have the money to pay it for it. So if I think that, well, my daughter, Caitlin, she'll just inherit the 2 properties and she'll continue renting them out, she's not going to be able to afford, even if I die if I last another 40 years, I'm sure she's still not going to be able to afford to pay the deemed disposition on the property without some type of insurance or something. So it's a really simple way to transfer to somebody in death. You write it in your will and off it goes, right? Didn't miss anything there? Ish, yeah. You can gift it, or you can add a joint tenancy with rights of survivorship to somebody that will pass it on. You lose control of that completely. And there are tons of risks in the joint tenancy. Be very careful with that. Get proper advice. I can't stress that enough. I see it way too much where people have joint with their parent just for ease and for skirting the probates. But at the end of the day, it ends up being quite complicated and it may not actually work out the way you think it will. Get proper advice. The trusts are really neat, and I need to learn way more about them, but we have experts at ATB that can help with setting up information around trusts.